interested in having more of a experience here in the United States. Other things that are involved in a little bit of our student population, Middle States, it's a regional accrediting association. And we take this quote from Middle States: first in the family, in their family, to come to a university. So that is something, it's a very inviting environment for our students. There is no majority of any one ethnicity or race on this campus. This is a extremely diverse campus. But more importantly, we graduate an extremely diverse. Bullet, for winning bachelor's degree, African American, 11th bachelor degrees to Hispanic students in the nation. That includes historically black and historically Hispanic institutions, so 11th in the nation. And as I just said, we're a very diverse campus. Every now and then we survey the incoming freshman class. About 40% of our incoming freshmen tell us that English, 1,000 students, those are the countries that are represented. India and China are still, you've seen a very warm and inviting environment there. Talk just briefly about all the agreements we have, and we have students coming here from
Our graduation and retention rates, we've gone up 5 points in our retention rate in 1 year, and our graduation rate has gone up 3%.
And thanks to all of you also for being so generous and sharing your experiences and experiences. In the Dominican Republic, we have been going through a transition period in terms of economic and social development. 50 years ago, we were more an agricultural export country, and we have made a transition into a more service-oriented economy on 3 main pillars, I would say. One has to do with tourism. That generates over $4 billion a year. The other is the free trade zone process, which are manufacturing plants that export into the U.S. market on a duty-free basis. Originally working on textiles, apparel, footwear, plastics, medical devices, and this is still going on. This is an annual $12 billion enterprise between the U.S. and Dominican Republic. Thirdly, has to do also with remittances. Dominicans living abroad. Here in the States, we have over 1.3 million Dominicans, and they send back to their families and ties in the Dominican Republic over $3 billion a year. So we have these 3 main areas to generate hard currency in the DR. But beyond that, we also have a very strong financial sector, telecommunications, agricultural, and I would say agro-industry, agro-business in the DR. So it's a very diversified economy that we have been developing in the country for the last 30 years. And relatively to the other Caribbean countries in Central America, I would say a very successful project. But we need to move up the ladder in the Dominican Republic. And our main goal is how can we be part of the global supply chain? If this is a globalized world, exactly where the Dominican Republic stands, we cannot be isolated. We cannot do it by ourselves. We have to be internationally integrated. And of course, our partner, looking at it from a geographical and geopolitical position, is the U.S. We are very closely geographically connected to the United States mainland. It's just an hour 45-minute flight from Santo Domingo to Miami, 3 hours 50 minutes to New York, and we have over 1 million Dominicans in New York who are bilingual, bicultural, and very highly connected to their homeland. So that is our project. How can we be part of this global supply chain, connected, integrated within the U.S. economy? We already have a free trade agreement on a reciprocal base, so we can export to the U.S. market on a preferential status or duty-free. And likewise, the Dominican market is open to the import of the goods and services being manufactured in the U.S. market. So what do we need? First is our strategic goal of getting into a high-tech economy. I would say a combination because we have a labor-intensive economic model that generates jobs, but we need to increase our wealth production, and that can only be done by moving into a capital-intensive economic model, technologically driven. And this is where we see the need to establish some sort of partnership with an institution like yours and New Jersey Institute of Technology. First, to train our future workforce in the high-tech fields. Secondly, by having business incubators, economic development centers, where we can also have our applied science located in the Dominican Republic. Indigenous knowledge can be converted into business opportunities. But this is also a learning process that we need to go into, and it has to be done by information sharing and knowledge sharing. We have in the Dominican Republic a government-funded scholarship program, and we have sent over the last 8 years 10,000 students abroad. Around 4,000 of them are here in the U.S. with a CUNY system in New York. I think it would be very interesting if we can increase our collaboration with you. We can have our Minister of Higher Education, Science and Technology, perhaps sign an agreement or MOU with NJIT to send students here. This will have to be basically on the graduate level, graduate level. And these students then can, be familiarized with your methods and with your opportunities here, and eventually they'll go back home and establish a permanent linkage with what you do here in Newark, New Jersey, and the States in general. We have 40 universities in the Dominican Republic. One is a public one, the oldest in the Western Hemisphere. It was founded in 1538, and we have 39 others that are private. And now recently we have also begun with a community college in the DR that was inaugurated 2 years ago that is linked to the community colleges here in the States. At this moment we have already 8,000 students there with 17 new buildings in different careers that we host there at the Dominican Republic. We also have what we call the Santo Domingo Cyber Park, which is a scientific and technological park, which also has an Technological Institute of the Americas for different technological careers. We have IT, we have mechatronics, robotics, artificial intelligence, and something related to the biotech, and biotech also. We have around 30 companies already operating there. We have what we call the Network Access Point of the Caribbean, which is a subsidiary of the NAP of America in Miami. And we have also brought in some other companies in the life sciences and in different high-tech related fields. Our intent is to attract more companies coming from abroad. But at the same time, and this is the reason why we have a delegation of Dominican business people, we're thinking on the idea of having high-tech startups here in the States with Dominican investment. So we can get our young professionals in the high-tech field knowledgeable about how your high-tech ecosystem operates here in the U.S. So they can network with the financial sector, with research and development centers, with economic development centers, and eventually these companies will grow here in the States. When they do that, then we can open a subsidiary in the Dominican Republic to create job opportunities there. So we think, in summary, that a combination of our traditional labor-intensive economic development model, which will continue to create jobs on the low skill level that we need to maintain because we're still an emerging economy, but at the same time is how can we increase our capacity to generate wealth. And this is where we think about a capital-intensive model. So it's a combination of low skill, labor-intensive with high skill, high-tech, internationally connected. And this has to do with education, economic development processes, connecting to financial centers, and integrating worldwide within what we call the global supply chain in different areas. And I will just give you two examples just to finish my presentation here. Dominican Republic, for example, does not have an aviation industry. It couldn't have. We are a small market, but we can supply a component, a part of the aviation industry. We're not part of the automobile industry, but we can also manufacture parts or components of that product, and we can ship that, export that into the U.S. market. So we can be part of the aviation industry, the automobile industry, or any sophisticated industry, not manufacturing the whole product, but parts of it. And I think this will be transformational to the Dominican Republic. Having said that, it's also the same question to the rest of Latin America. I think our main challenge at this point in the region has to do with innovation. How can we innovate and not continue being countries that export raw materials with no processing at all? It can help us during a certain period of time, as it has had in the last 10 years. You can see Brazil, Colombia, and Peru growing at 6% yearly GDP. Their GDP growth over 6%, but that's because China is importing all these raw materials. But China will not grow forever at 12% GDP per year. It will need to slow down and flatten its economic growth. What will happen to the rest of Latin America if they have not taken the advantage of this momentum created by the world economy to transform their economies into more value-added export products? So this is where we stand in the Dominican Republic and in the region. And what I've talked with Bill Cassidy here has been very helpful, and to Ambassador Avila, is also giving you some sort of value-added idea, making New Jersey a global hotspot. You can call it Global New Jersey. And we can begin, for example, with something like New Jersey Latin American Caribbean Council, where we can hold an annual forum related to education, high-tech, business, investments, trade, etc. Different issues that can link or relate our two geographical locations and can be long-term of mutual benefit.
So the short answer is an affirmation of everything you've said because of the fit that you've somewhat heard as we presented it and what you're proposing to do. In listening to you also, you may have the solution to which developed countries are having a problem. Technology is displacing workers at a rate that is not allowing its middle class to grow. And first, and here, is how to do a little of that. And that goes back to our county-college relationship that we work with in that science and technology.
Appreciation of some of the leaders, the Global Foundation for Democracy and Development, latest publications, my monthly magazine.
Well, and so we always exchange literature, right?
Yes, yes.
But this is for you and your colleagues. It gives you a little snapshot of NJIT and our annual report. And by the way, I don't want to leave here, although we'll have an opportunity to speak again, but Ambassador Villa has been an outstanding partner in helping us understand what you're interested in and how we may be able to partner as well, as is Bill Cassidy, Sir William Cassidy. Thank you, and all you've done here today.
And we'll follow up with this presentation. There's a lot in common there. It's just getting all the business.
Can you give me your number? What's my name?
But I'm going to try and catch up with you right there.
¿Está bien ahora? ¿Usted se siente mejor ahora?
Sí, cómo no.
Sé lo que es eso.
Great presentation.
The university has trustees, which our good Governor Christie helps give us, but we also have
Broad portfolio, right? So it's the classic research and development. It's industry relations, interfederal relationship, Washington, commercialization.
Economic development,
Commercialization.
commercialization, we have the license. Yeah. No, very good. electrical engineer. There's panels here to help drive and run the electricity here in the campus center. And Joe, for a while, had.
So those solar panels, even though they're only So we entered for the first time 2 years ago into suburban living. So what they found is that when they tried to do it, things, everything, architectural design and market appeal, which I think they want, to hosting a dinner party for. So that's here, which has a number of other amenities, and here are the fraternities. They're called Greek House. I guess you reach there. And these are like townhomes, right? So the club lives in its kitchen set up and so on. It's like a little house. So we're moving them out of the community where college kids and adult neighbors don't exactly get along. And if they wake up the other day, they probably have children.
Our mechanical engineers belong to the particular fraternity, and then they stay connected after they graduate. It becomes a very
Well, they
good
call them
network.
brotherhoods and sisters.
Perspective, because I'm not sure.
And topologically, we're a little higher than downtown.
I think we have 60, between our colleges and our community colleges, 60, so the proportions are about the same.
Want to walk up? Everybody in shape?
In San Pedro de Macorís.
Yeah, sure.
Good morning.
Yeah.
How are you? How are you? Andy Mercado.
Nice to meet
That's
you.
a legendary home for shortstop.
Honey is an engineering
Second
engineering
base. And
student.
second base now, right? Yeah.
Honey's an NJIT engineering student here. So his designs, his assistance has been extreme here. Let me explain to you what we're developing more and more. As in this configuration, you see the holes?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motor at that end. Yes. We have a motor at that end that causes this to rotate in this manner around. At the bottom, we have a water distribution and nutrient system.
And so it started as really a one-person company. Peter Schmidt, who was the CEO, started it off. And then it was our networks for a company called South Podium. And what they were doing was creating a way to send help to the projects in Haiti. So when we had the disaster there, someone didn't have to run to the internet to find out how do I treat the person. They could get the information directly on their cell phone, right?
You ask them to program something for normal people, and they don't know what that means, you know? And so it's very important to have people who live in a real world and who to understand how to mediate between what the computer can do and how.
We're going to actually go to University Hall. Fine, we're with you. Okay, we're going to go with me this way, all right? I think I'm okay. Better block me out of this.
Julie, do you all have another campus, or
No,
it's all here?
it's all here, and that's our new motto. This is the main campus, our theater, our library. Hello. Vice President Shannon. Vice President Shannon, I'd like to present President Fernandez.